What's going on, people? I hope we're well and living the dream. I'm here with Laura.
Hi.
So, Laura will be participating in Time Attack this year, the only female to do so this season, and we'll be capturing pretty much her and the car and everything behind the scenes. It's one thing for someone to just literally take part in Time Attack, but not many people get to see the stresses behind it, the prep that goes behind it. Pretty much the whole time, it's a commitment in itself. So yeah, this part is just to pretty much concentrate on Laura, the inspiration as to creating this beast, and also just to kind of cover the sponsors as well that's helped you along the journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So let's get into it.
Awesome.
So my first question for you, and by the way, I will be referring to my phone because I've got questions here. I'm not unprofessional or antisocial. Just want to have that out there, right?
It's fine, Joseph.
Cool. Right. So the first question I have for you is pretty much to try and paint the perfect picture as to who you are, Laura Tebbs. What does that mean from the beginning? So ultimately, what would you say your childhood was like? And then from there, what was your inspiration into getting into cars?
I had a pretty normal childhood. Grew up, mum, dad, brother and sister. My dad is a mechanic. He's an HGV mechanic by trade. And that pretty much is where my kind of influence from cars and mechanical kind of the side of things came from. I grew up spending evenings, weekends at the workshop around lorries, cars, trucks, tractors. Everything was on the farm where he had his workshop, and I was just left to my own devices quite often, and I'd just wander around. There was some cows on the field, so I'd go and see those, or I'd just kind of wander around and tinker with the cars and turn the lights on and off and sit and move the chairs around, and that's really where it started. And I just kind of spent every weekend, evenings and bits and pieces with my dad after school, and I ended up working for him in the office about 15. Okay. He taught me the phonetic alphabet, which I can say in my sleep. And yeah, that's really where it started from, to be honest. Yeah.
No, I mean, so you mentioned your dad being a big inspiration for you. I mean, your occupation isn't in cars. I mean, I'm saying this because I know you're obviously outside of cars, right?
Yeah.
And we share a similar occupation. But with that, did you ever have like a want to dive deep into cars?
Yeah. So at 16, I remember saying to my dad, I want to be a mechanic. And he said no. And I wanted to be an HGV mechanic. I'd grew up with him being an HGV plant mechanic, so I wanted to go do that. And he said no, because 20 years ago, I'm sure I'm that age, but 20 years ago, it wasn't so welcoming of females in the industry. Yeah. It would have been really tough for me, especially to be HGV. And he said to me that it probably wasn't the right avenue to go down. And I had to listen to him. Like, he has been a mechanic since he was 15. And he was kind of my voice of reason in that sense. So I went off and went into a different direction, very different direction. But I kind of wish I had followed it up, but also I don't think that my passion probably would have been as big as it is if I was doing it every day.
Yeah, I fully get you, for sure. So, for example, not to even make this about me, but like, say, for example, I had a passion for IT, right, and computers and stuff. And I made an occupation of it, which I kind of do anyway, or did. When I get home, I'm not wanting to try and mess about like with computers. So it gives you general knowledge, but it's not something you want to push on for.
Yeah.
It's good to kind of separate it. So I understand that for sure. So just covering that from a younger age and now stepping into a little bit of an older Laura, where did your passion for cars start to really kind of embed in your mind, or like, I want certain cars, or I want...
So I don't know how it came about, but I ended up just being really interested and really liking old school Ford. And I loved Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts. I was always kind of fascinated by them. I'd go to shows, I'd watch them on you know, the internet. That was probably before YouTube became really big.
Yeah.
But I was part of Passion Forward, the days of forums.
Okay.
And I was part of that, and I kind of really started to get into that a little bit more. And I got the opportunity to actually buy my Mark II Escort that I've got now. I've still got from a lady that lived just down the road from me. So I'm actually still the second owner, and I've had it for nearly 20 years.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gold, it's very 70s, and it's awesome. I love it. But that's probably really what spurred my passion. I've had like daily drivers, don't get me wrong, and I've just had a BM, I've got an Audi now. I love a nice car, but having a second car I've always had one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm only just jumping into the second car ownership here, and I can definitely vouch for that in that regard. But just speaking about always having a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
I'm going to twist it a little bit here just so we can kind of get a flavour of what your taste has been.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many cars you've had in your lifetime, right? And I'm saying that on camera, that's actually the truth. But if you can kind of take us from your first car to like your current newest acquisition, very briefly, what does that look like?
I actually haven't had that many cars, if I'm honest. So my first car, Corsa B. I was a child in the 90s. It had to be a Corsa B.
Yeah.
And then I had a few little kind of runarounds. I had a Ford Focus, a ST170. Everybody had that. And then I was quite lucky enough. My brother worked in the trade as a salesman, and I got my first brand new car when I was about 23. I just kind of invested in that, and I just had a couple of Fiestas for a few years, the Z-Tech S's, and then I treated myself to a Cooper S, a brand new one. I'd got promotion at work, and I really wanted one. And then I got a better job, and I went and bought a 4 Series 430D, and I absolutely adored it. I loved that car, and then it got written off. Somebody drove out in front of me. They crossed a carriageway near where we live, and it was just the beginning of lockdown, and it got written off. Yeah, it had beautiful red leather. It was absolutely stunning. And then I got a 435D X-Drive, and that's what I had probably for 4 years, and I've just got rid of it, and I've now got a SQ5 as the tow car for this.
Cool. Now, just as like a little segue, this has its own section. So this is going to have pretty much its own video. Either I'm going to tie it into this video or not. Either way, I'll edit it to make it look very snazzy, and that this is already organized anyway, right? But yeah, okay, so that's fantastic. Now, I know you've kind of gone through the walkthrough as to the cars that you've owned, and that is actually quite surprising that you haven't had that many. Yeah. But just kind of touching on your character, you're the kind of person that is very much a doer. You're not really a talker, which is something I definitely commend. But ultimately, like, what's been your reasoning for being into cars, and like ultimately, how and where did the passion for track driving come? So
I was always into cars. I've obviously had the Escort for a long period of time. And I used to go do the typical kind of shows, car shows, you know, kind of park up, you go have a look around kind of thing. And then I met Elle, my other half, who runs Midnight Motorsport, and he took me to Germany. Yeah. He had been going to the Nürburgring for a few years, and it was during lockdown, and it was the only real place that we could go without too many restrictions of kind of getting on a flight, etc. So we drove over, and I just bit the bug from that. I loved it. It was fantastic. He's got an EP3, and we went out in that together, and he took me around the ring. And I remember the first time I went on the ring, he didn't actually tell me that that's where we were kind of going, if that makes any sense. Like, so now I think about it, it makes me cringe a little bit because I laugh, but we went through the barriers, and I don't know what I didn't know what I was expecting, but we went through the barriers. Yeah, so you have to go through the barriers where you swipe your card.
Yeah.
And the barriers go up, and then you kind of drive onto the track and you kind of go past some cones, and then you're on. Yeah. And I was expecting to drive into like a stadium, like, you know, like how it's kind of like on a big race. No, we were just there, and and I remember just sitting there for my very first lap. I just kind of grabbed the door cards in the side of the seat and just was like, oh my God.
I wish you had footage of that. I wish. Honestly.
Yeah, so we went round a few times, and I was kind of bitten from the bug from there. We came back, and we were talking about it in Germany, and I knew I wanted to get something. And I was going to get the EP3. We were talking about it, but I would have always been comparing it to Els, and it would never have been as good. So Els suggested to look at the Mark III Clio. They handle incredibly well. They're a great kind of cheaper car, cheaper chassis to start with. And yeah, that's really where that journey started. And I started getting into track days after I'd bought the car. We'd done a couple of modifications, and we booked a evening at Bedford, because obviously it's just down the road to us. And I kind of went from there. I was so anxious. I was so worried. I was so scared. We've got a really great friend, Blair. Like, I have to mention Blair. He's incredible, and he came out with me. He showed me the ropes. He helped me know how to kind of drive, where to go, all those kind of bits and pieces. And I will always say thank you to him. That's really where it started. So that was only 3 years ago as well.
So, I mean, that's quite a leap to start. Like, you literally just ended saying it's been 3 years ago to now being in Time Attack. So we always capture things with lap times, maybe struggles with mechanics and the mechanical side of setting up a car, or maybe financial issues, etc. Right? This is cars. Even if you have a daily, you're going to have these sort of problems.
Yeah.
But what would you say you personally have struggled with? I wouldn't even say like leading into Time Attack, because you've done a couple of rounds now, right? Yeah. So we're not talking about that. And even before Time Attack, let's ultimately just say, like, even with track time.
Confidence. Massively confidence. So I, on the road, am an incredibly confident driver. I've been driving 20 years. It's not something that I worry about. I just get in and drive.
Yeah.
However, being on the track, I was worried. I was scared. I was anxious, like being out of my place. I didn't feel comfortable. I was worried, what would happen if I made the wrong move, or I moved in the wrong direction. I'd cause somebody to crash, all those kind of bits and pieces, or I'd brake too hard and I'd skid, and all those kind of things that I was really worried about. And that really I was so anxious. And I mean, like, to the point of, like, I was scared, and I wasn't enjoying it for the first couple of times. But Blair and Elle, they both encouraged me to kind of go out more and more. And it got to the point where I just kind of thought, do you know what? I really need to start enjoying this. And I started to get better. I was never fast. I was never going to break any records, but I was starting to have fun, and I was starting to really enjoy it. And I started to realize that it was the place that everything stopped. And I just was so concentrating on what I was doing that I could forget literally everything, because I was just dealing with what was in front of me and what was behind me, and that was it. That's really kind of what I struggled with to begin with.
Life is very intense, and you mentioned something ultimately everyone needs to find, regardless of if you're in cars, regardless of if you're into, like I mentioned before, PCs, clothing, whatever your niche or whatever your flavor is, you have to find that thing that makes you stop and take a break, right? So with that being said, now bringing it into Time Attack, let me ask you this. What would you say have been your strengths to you as a driver? Yeah. And then also, what would you say have been your weaknesses? Like, if you had to, a minimum of 2.
Okay, so my strengths, I think that I have the courage to be able to go and do it. So I'm not the fastest by any means. I'm not the best by any means. But being courageous enough to put myself into that situation and to actually improve by being in a competitive situation. That's what I wanted to do. I won't get better just doing it, you know, kind of on a social Sunday afternoon. I have to be in that situation of pressure, and it's just the way my brain works.
Definitely.
On the other side, the weakness for me is I worry, and I get something in the back of my head, and then I overplay that to be a big thing. So at the moment, we've been dealing with braking issues, and I overbrake, and I will hold my hands up, and the amount of people that have said to me, you need to stop braking so much. But because the car hasn't been behaving the way that I wanted it to, I then worry, and then I get it in the back of my head, and then I overthink it. And that is really where that confidence thing has come from, hopefully. And that's the whole purpose of me trying to do the time attack rounds, to push past it. Another strength that I find is that I'm quite open to asking for help. So I have a couple of sources of information. Obviously I've been working with Mark Kemp, but also at the rounds, I've also asked a couple of the drivers that I know are very good, and I really have confided in them and kind of asked for their help and support, and they've been really great to show me kind of where their lines are, you know, how to maybe approach a corner slightly differently, all those kind of things. So those are is Michael Hume and Michael Taylor. They are incredible. They both drive Clios, Mark IIs, K-swaps. It's one of the reasons why I trust them, and they've both got years of experience as well. So I have to trust people, and those two are the two that I ask for help at the track as well. For sure.
That is such an underrated strength. I'd even say, as a man, like 100%, that is it is. It might come across as like a stereotype, but it really is. So the fact that you can do that and you have that capable of you and you bring that along with your journey, and this has been like, I mean, I haven't known you that long, but would you say this has definitely been like your biggest challenge so far, or like your biggest
One
venture?
of the biggest challenges, yeah, definitely.
Exactly. Well, there you go. So, I mean, you've mentioned asking for help and mentioning the journey, and I obviously said my own little piece as a man, but as a woman, how would you, what would you say has been, if at all, so what was your drive to do this and to also represent women? Like, what kind of lessons would you want women to learn? I know that sounds like such a cliche or one-word answer question, but there's so many different ways anyone can be inspired from different angles. So what would you say yours is? I just wanted to make women realize that they don't need to be really fast. They don't need to be the top of their game. They don't need to be kind of super rich. To be able to just have fun and to actually participate with a group of lads. I compete in the pocket rocket class. They've taken me in, and the lads are great. Like, they don't see me as a female. I think they just see me as one of the lads. And we just kind of just get stuck in, and I think that's really what I want to demonstrate to other women. That you don't need to be to this level of competitiveness if you want to compete. Just have fun, because that's really what it is. And sometimes, you know, you get caught up in the moment and you get stressed, and I'm sure you'll see that like at a few of the rounds, but ultimately just enjoy the time that you're having with friends, and just make it that, like, being with your friends. And I think that's part of it. Emotions do run high in stressful situations, and as you said, there are going to be parts during this journey that the people will see, and ultimately that you will experience firsthand, and we will be there, and I'll be there with a camera in your face shining. Right? Fine. No, but I guess it kind of segues into my next question for you. You've done 2 rounds thus far, right? And I know we kind of stepped over that, but I just want to kind of bring that in as a little bit of a question for this. What has been your biggest lesson learned from your first 2 rounds? And this is thus far. We're obviously going to recap this. Right? So, don't overthink it. I'll come back to that in a second. And the second one is stay in your own lane. Like, don't get caught up on the advice that people are trying to give you.
because people will tell you everything. There'll be kind of armchair experts everywhere that are not doing it, and they want to tell you, and they want to make sure that they're right.
Yeah.
And you listen. Yeah. And actually, you need to just trust the people that you trust. Hence why I trust the two drivers that I trust in the rounds, but also that I trust the guys looking after the car, and that's all I want to know. If something's not right, I know who to ask. If I'm not driving right, I know who to ask. Yeah. In terms of what did I say a second ago to come back to? This is what you'll learn about me as well. My brain, my forgetfulness is ridiculous.
Worrying? Was it a worrying?
Oh yeah, worrying. That's one. Yeah. So another thing, I know you couldn't make it to Cadwell, but there was an instant at qualifying where I really got into my own brain. And I was overthinking whilst I was on track. And I came off, bearing in mind, Cadwell, I've probably done in excess of like nearly 20 times that track. Yeah. I know it really, really well. And I came off track and I just couldn't get my times. Like I was really struggling. And I gave myself such a hard time because I was like, why are you not getting the times that you should be getting, Laura? You're beating you're not doing as well as you should do. And I was getting into my head, and I just ultimately I got some really good advice from a friend that was there. He was helping me. Mark, he was absolutely fantastic. He races in the KA enduro car, should we say? Yeah. And he is an experienced racer anyway, and he just gave me some really good tips and good advice. And I listened to him, and it really helped. Yeah. So it was just vocalizing like the fact that I wasn't doing as badly as I should have been, like as I was worrying about. Yeah. And to not overthink behind the wheel of the car, because if you overthink it, it won't come, and then just relax into it and it starts going better.
Well, I mean, they always say, like, if you hesitate behind the wheel, that's the beginning of really any accident.
Yeah.
So let alone that being on track where you're trying to ultimately be as fast as you possibly can be, as possible. I mean, you progressed from driving on track to ultimately doing time attack, which means you have progressed as a driver. And I've seen that from the onboards that I've seen, right? And like, you obviously take this as a real strong passion. Would you say there's any, for lack of a better term, because everyone has their own struggles in their own shoes. Yeah. Would you say there's any gremlins on your shoulder that both help you, but then are also kind of a little bit of a hindrance that you deal with day to day?
Yeah, so I'm really open with the fact that I got diagnosed with ADHD, about a year ago. I don't honestly, I mean, everybody says, oh, you're another one with ADHD, blah, blah, blah. Like, I genuinely don't know how I did not get picked up at school, put it that way. Like, I was bad, like, looking back at it. And I have always kind of struggled with it. But since being diagnosed last year, it's also one of the things that I have struggled with. So I hyper-focus on stuff, I then go off of a hyper-focus, but I have to then push through it. I've utilised my ADHD to be able to kind of like really focus where I need to, but then also I really beat myself up about it with things like I'll forget where my keys are. I'll forget, like I've had a couple of times where I've forgotten to put my bonnet catches down and my bonnet has flipped up on the way home from track days because I'm so tired. Like, and it's things like that that I really struggle with. So yeah, my other half, Elle, he actually made me an ADHD checklist on the inside of my sun strip, and it just lists the really basic things that I have to do, like check my torque pressure, like check my torque settings on my wheels, check my tire pressures, check my oil, check my bonnet catches. Really basic things that I have to do. Really yeah, it's quite funny, and it always gets people to like comments and like laugh and stuff. But it's just simple things like that that really, really help. But also, it means that I need kind of just clear, simple instructions to be able to follow things. And yeah, that's how I've really coped, really, over the, I guess, the last 3 years, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. And I think again, there are people out there that knowingly or unknowingly struggle with things. And I guess if you wanted to say the silver lining to that cloud has been literally this.
Yeah.
And everything that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, so that's your motivation to really strive on and get things done. So it's just trying to keep a balance.
Yeah, it is the balance that's hard as well. Like some days I forget to take my tablet, some days I don't want to do anything, some days I really don't want to actually look at the car, but I have to. Some days I don't want to be in the car because I'm not mentally, like, I need to be like focused on it, but I just have to, and it's pushing past that, which is also something that I then have to kind of put into the racing. It's like I may not feel it, but I have to push past that and then just relax into it, and I'm learning that more and more we go each round.
Awesome. So you mentioned before having low confidence on track, but also the combination of you having the courage to actually just be out on track anyway. Who, what, and where has helped you to progress as a driver?
Okay, so that's a big question. So let's break it down. So who? There's a few people that I kind of need to really call out on this one. Blair. He is one of Elle's friends, and he came with me and Elle to the first track day that I did, well, evening that I did at Bedford. He is an ex-racer himself. He is incredible. So he helped me actually get in the car, and he was with me for the first few rounds. He actually came to a track day that I did last year. You were there as well. And at Snare, And he got in the car with me, and he was just like, Laura, you're just a different driver. Like, you're so much more confident. You are not the same person that you were a couple of years ago, which was really nice to hear. News. And I always give him an update. I always tell him how I've got on, and he, you know, so thank you, Blair. Like, I cannot thank you enough. There's also my two friends. I call them Pinky and the Brain. It's just a running joke now. But Michael Hume and Michael Taylor. And they are both time attack competitors. Hume won the Pocket Rocket class last year in his K-Swap Clio Mark II. Awesome. And Taylor won it, I think, the previous year, or he was... he's been racing a long time. And Taylor actually used to help me the whole way through. I'd send him videos with what I was doing, and he'd say to me kind of like, brake later in this corner, you can go faster here. So he's really helped me remotely off for quite a while. And then obviously I've been working quite heavily with my coach, who is Mark Kemp, who is also an ex-time attack competitor. Awesome. Mark is fantastic. He's a really, really nice guy. He's got the worst banter I have ever heard. Like, it is so dad jokey, it's unreal. But he has made me so much more confident. He tells me that I'm still slow, and I probably am, as a joke. Obviously, we have a very much a banter situation when we work together. He understands my ADHD, and he gives me very clear instructions. I think you've got some in-car footage of hearing Mark over where we're talking at Cadwell, and he's just giving me very much like gas, brake, gas, and that's how my brain processes it, which is really helpful. And he really works well. And he's kind of got me up to speed. I've got areas that I need to work on, and he's going to really push me over the next few months that we're doing practice days. That's awesome. That should really help. So those guys, I cannot have done this without them. Obviously, Elle, like, the car would not be in any shape or form without him. He works absolutely like a Trojan on it. Every timeline he has met, he's never let me down, ever. The car is so reliable, touch wood. Things have always been... Actually, the only time I don't think I've made it through a track day was my clutch went, and that was it. Okay. I think that's the only time I've never been able to make it through a whole track day. So
he's awesome. I gave him my car for like one session. No, it wasn't one session, sorry. I gave him my car for an evening to do an alternator job, and he fixed like 3 other things. I didn't even know I had wrong with my car.
Yep, that's how.
Extremely helpful. Extremely helpful. Yeah, 100%. Shout out Midnight Motorsports for sure, and all of the M's that helped you on your way, because
Yes.
it was like Mark.
Mike. And then obviously my catalyst. Without that, I made the jump into buying that. They are not cheap. I made the jump into buying that kind of a couple of Christmases ago, and without it, I don't think I would have really learned so much about how I was driving. The technology on it is just insane. The video quality. Is that the
Garmin?
Yeah, the Garmin Catalyst. It's like obviously a sat nav kind of style thing, and it tells you where you're braking, how fast you're going through things, as well as the videos as well. So yeah, it's incredible, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
So it's not just a gimmick?
No, definitely not. And it gives you coaching as well, which I don't really listen to very often. But because I kind of know where I need to improve.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it does help you if you are not able to afford a coach. I mean, I have one luckily sat, sometimes in my passenger seat. So if you're not able to afford a coach as well, then yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, so we've spoken about your progress as a driver. And as mentioned previously in the video, there's a couple of rounds which I missed.
Yeah.
Could you summarize how they've gone? Track by track.
Oh God. So Anglesey was the first round.
Very scenic photos, by the way.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'd only ever been to Anglesey once before. In December in the wet with Mark. It was horrific. It was sideways rain. I came off badly. There's some footage of me just going straight on at one of the corners, which gave me a little bit of PTSD, I think, at one point. But yeah, the first round at Anglesey, it was good. I was really quite anxious, nervous. We had a really stressful run up. One of my teammates, Luke, he had a really bad run with luck in the run up to the car. He came to put the car on the trailer and it had a misfire. It turned out he had a broken valve spring, so L was working until like 2 a.m. the night before. I'd driven up on my own. I had to trailer my car by myself all the way to Anglesey. It was just, everything was going on, and I was so stressed. Like, I was the most stressed I think I've ever been turning up to that round. And the round was great. It was unknown territory, didn't really know what was going on. I was quite slow to begin with, but I improved every single round, which is what I wanted. I was really happy with the outcome for the first round, and that was that I came, I think it was 6 out of 8. And I was super chuffed for that. The next day, we went into because it was a double header, we went into the second round, which was the longer course. And I was gaining seconds. So me and one of my fellow competitors, who is also someone that you know, Ali, we were doing a kind of like cat and mouse. We were chasing each other, and he was pushing me along, and at one point he was trying to catch me, and I was, we were kind of chasing each other along. Really, really helped. And at one point we were 0.1 of a second there was between us.
That's actually really,
it was
really
incredible.
close.
Like, we were really, really pushing. And then I adjusted my suspension, and it just knocked everything out. And I couldn't control the car the way that I had been. I was understeering quite substantially, and I lost second in the final, and I came last. But it was my first round. I was disappointed. I was gutted that I'd been doing so well, and then I kind of knocked myself back. But lessons learned. So that was Anglesey. Obviously a long journey, and I was tired by that point as well. And it was really hot. It was weirdly warm in April in Anglesey, which was, we were all expecting rain. But it was like 20 degrees. Very strange. And then Cadwell. So Cadwell obviously is kind of my home track because it's the one I love the most, and I was expecting a lot from myself. So I went in and I'd put myself in a lot of pressure. I loved it, don't get me wrong. But the first round, I went out. We'd made some tweaks to the brakes, and I kept locking up.
Yeah.
And I struggled the first round. I could not get any grip. We all struggled in the morning with grip. Like, we all came off and we're just like, were you losing your back end?
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, everybody was like that. So it wasn't just me after I lost to a couple of guys. But my suspension at the back was still too hard, so we softened it down. And I still had a lock-up issue of the brakes. So the boys sorted that fine, but it knocked my confidence. And as a result of that, I went back out and I was trying to then gain some more confidence, which was good. And I was getting there, and I listened to Hume, and he told me, Michael Hume, he told me where to kind of, like, I was over braking, or, you know, try and ease off the brakes and stuff, which I'm very conscious of because of my lock-up issues.
For sure.
I'm constantly, it's like cat and mouse, like I'm constantly playing with that as well. And I started then pushing and pushing more. And then the qualifying round came, and one of the guys had a crash almost right in front of me, and that just completely threw me. And I came back in, and I just sat in the car and sobbed, and I just cried for about 10 minutes. And I gave myself a really, really hard time. But I went back out in the final, and I pushed as hard as I could. And I got myself a new PB, and I was more than happy. It was by 0.2 of a second, but that doesn't matter. It was a new PB. And I was so tough with that. One of the other competitors, he pushed me around. Andy Gray, he runs Fury Works up near Cadwell. It's his home track, literally his home track. And we have a thing where we play blind spot ballet, which is it was a bit of banter that we created from Anglesey, because it was my first round, and getting used to that was really quite scary. He's got an S14. It approaches really fast because it's quite, you know, it's a high power S14. And I kept seeing him appear out my blind spot, and it would freak me out because obviously you're trying to get out of people's ways. And anyway, at Cadwell, he kept saying to me, look, just do your own thing. I will move around you. And I did. But at one point, because Cadwell's such a small track, I stuck to my guns and was like, no, I'm going for this. And he pushed me along. And after that, he pushed me into the new PB territory. So me and Andy now have this thing where he pushes me along, and that's literally pushes me along in his car, because he sits right behind me. And it's a daunting but quite a helpful thing. So me and Andy have got this blind spot ballet thing going on, but it's quite funny.
Competitive support for sure. And I guess it kind of echoes the ever true saying that you are your own enemy.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
Your own worst enemy, rather.
100%. Like, I think I am an okay driver. People have said to me, if you stopped worrying about what you're worrying, you actually just got on and did it, you would be way more, like, you would be way faster. And you would be a much better driver. You've got the ability. Like at Cadwell, so Mark, he came and helped me, another Mark Carey. He was so impressed when I came in at my consistency for my last 4 laps. He said, you can't teach consistency. I managed to do my last 4 or 5 laps, and they are all within 0.3 of a second of each other.
That's
and it's like competitively over and over and over again. That's something that you just can't teach. So I'm consistently slow, but I'm consistent.
No, but you're progressing. Like I said earlier in the interview, maybe I'm just being biased because I know you and I'm fond of you, but ultimately, like, you have progressed. I mean, look at the time you mentioned Cadwell, right? There was a time on one of the videos where ultimately you were 1 minute and 50 something, right? And then you also sent me another on board, right? Say, for example, I can't remember specifically what it is, so don't quote me on this, but it was something like 157 was like your best lap, or I don't know, something along those lines. And then your fastest lap, even when you were held up towards the end of the lap, you were like 5 seconds faster. Yeah. 5 seconds up. So ultimately, the speed and the skill is in there.
Yeah. and that was with Mark on the board as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, he pushes me way more than I actually give him credit for.
Yeah.
But also, I need to learn to do that myself, and that's really kind of where I'm still learning, and one of the reasons why I'm mince timing. It's not, I need to be able to push myself with me in the car and not just with somebody sat in the passenger seat as well. And just kind of, that's the reason why I'm doing Time Attack, to learn how to push my own self and push myself past that ability. And the boys in the Pocket Rocket class, they're fantastic. They keep giving me, I'm so proud of them lot as well, but I know deep down, some of them probably won't admit it, but I know some of them will, that they're proud of the fact that I continually try to push myself as much as I can.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's
100%. Yeah. Definitely. You mentioned Cadwell being your home, like your favorite track.
Yeah.
What would you say your top 3 tracks are, and then your worst 3 tracks, regardless of how fast you are at each and every one of them?
I haven't actually done all of the tracks that we're doing for the series yet. I have done most of them, but I haven't done Alton Park yet. It's the only one I haven't done. So top 3 tracks.
Was that your
Yeah, it's fine. It just falls on the floor all the time. Okay, so top 3 tracks. Probably Cadwell, absolute love it. My 100% favourite. I was really surprised at this one that I have enjoyed the most, and that was Brands Hatch. This is probably my ADHD brain. It's only got 5 corners or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like 56, 57 seconds a lap. But it's because you do it so quickly that I get so much fulfillment and so much enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And I can redo it so quickly. So it's like my little like ADHD brain just goes, oh, back here again, yeah. And then probably my third one is Snare. I know it's kind of like a bit of a predictable one. Some people love it, some people hate it.
I just love Snap.
I have a little bit of a soft place for it. Just because it's just like, I really enjoy it. But I was really surprised at how much I didn't like Anglesey. I was fully expecting it to be better than it was. Yeah. Some people say it's fantastic, some people don't like it. The cross between it eating your tyres and it being so far away and it just, like being kind of quite hit or miss in terms of the weather. I think if it was in the middle of the country, it would be better.
Okay.
Donington, I was surprised at how much I was like, meh. Wasn't really blown over by Donington. Oh, okay. Really, to be honest, I wasn't. And I think it's probably because I was there in the wet.
Oh, okay.
And then third, I don't really know at this moment in time. No. I doubt it's going to be Alton, because Alton's apparently just like incredible. But I don't want to be the cliche one, but I guess probably the Ring. And that's probably because it's not because I hate it, not because I don't like it at all, and I really do love it, but I'm scared of it. I'm absolutely petrified of it, and I will never learn it enough like I know Cadwell, and that's what scares me. So it's not, I'd love it to be my mate, like in the top 3, but because it absolutely petrifies me. Oh, okay, yeah, I got you. It's not. Of course. Yeah, but then it's massive. Yeah. It's massive. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. So earlier on, you spoke about one of your strengths being you being able to ask for help. Yep. Sponsorships. Yep. Parts. Yep. Is in the video. Yeah. Maybe if you could just kind of give a brief run through as to your sponsorships, and also not just for the shout out. Yeah. But ultimately as to the parts that they're giving you, how they've helped you. Yeah. Okay, so other than Midnight Motorsport, my biggest sponsor, supporter, Renault Dog's Body, he's really gonna hate me for that. Sorry, Tom. Is BTT. He's a ride or die. Like, Tom is there. He runs alongside us with Dan Buckingham for Time Attack.
Cool.
Dan competes in the clubman class, and we run all of the cars together. So there's the three of us that compete, me, Luke Capehorn in club two-wheel drive, and then Dan in clubman. And we run the three cars together, and Tom is just, he's the Renault guy. Like, he knows the Renaults. He was also there through the whole build of the Clio, and he's just an incredible guy, and he will do anything. He recently drove from Wigan, like they're based in Wigan. He drove from Wigan, sacrificed his whole weekend to come and help Elle prep the car ready for the first round. Like, who does that? Like, literally, who does that? So honestly, they are just incredible guys. And yeah, I cannot thank Tom enough for everything.
I also want to give a huge mention to Rix from Race Wars UK. He's a really good friend of ours, and he kindly gave me some money towards the year to put towards the season, and also some practice sessions. So really, without that money, I wouldn't have been able to basically get ready for the year and kind of compete. So he was a huge help. So thanks very much, Rix.
The other ones are Kinetic. He built the gearbox. Dave is fantastic, really good guy with the gearbox. And he is also competing in racing Hondas. Yeah. I've also got a couple of local guys that I have sponsoring me just in terms of parts and things. So Sprogly Motorsport, they are a company that are very local to us. They're actually some of Elle's customers who've got their own kind of intake and 3D printing business going on. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they're a brother and sister that work together, and they help me. I've got like little mounts and my harness brackets and all those kind of bits and pieces. So they support me as well for those.
Awesome.
So that's Sprogly Motorsport.
Cool.
And then there's also RDW valeting. He keeps the car clean for the whole year. He's just a friend of ours that lives around the corner, just an independent guy, and yeah, he keeps the car clean. Awesome. I've also got PBS. So I run PBS pads, have done for forever. I don't think I've ever really used anything else. So PBS kindly sponsor me. And also ProBite as well. I'm really fortunate enough to have secured that. So ProBite are the sponsors for the British Rally Championship, and they have been they're willing to come on board with me this year to be able to provide my brake discs. So yes,
fantastic.
I think that is everybody.
XD. XD.
Oh yes, and XCD. So XCD are the.
Is it XD or is it XED? Because I've always heard of XD. You're the first one I've heard of XED.
Stuart will probably correct us.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's XCD.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I don't mind either way. They know who we're talking about.
XCD, who knows? Stuart, let us know.
100%, please.
Stuart from XCD sponsors. They sponsor Time Attack anyway, and he had chosen me. Literally blew me out of the water. I opened up Facebook one day, and he tagged me and said, "You guys are you are the one that we're watching for the year. That you are the driver to watch." I was just like, oh my God.
That's fantastic.
Massive pressure. But Stuart is fantastic. He's such a nice guy. And yeah, he always comes every round. Him and his daughter, Millie. Shout out to Millie. She's fantastic. She comes along with Stuart, and they always come in, say hello, and just stand and have a chat for ages, find out how we're doing, all that kind of stuff. So really, really nice guys as well. And without even having them on the car, like, we run their stuff, like, without shadow of a doubt. It's non-negotiable for me that I run their clutches. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, I mean, I just want to put it out there as well. Not even like a shameless plug to myself, because ultimately it's going to be on the channel. But I mean, I have an XD clutch in my K24 Frank.
Yeah,
and
they're literally the best.
Fantastic. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, definitely the details and reputation
Yes,
alone.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a small group at the moment of sponsors, but yeah, they really help me out. We obviously have KIDUR as well as part of the team for, as part of the sponsors for Time Attack. So we also get some discount from them guys as well. So yeah, it's just that is a small but very effective group of sponsors, and yeah, I mean, there's always room for more.
Exactly, 100%. Hey, I also said, right, as like a slight joke, but also a serious point, there is a fantastic photo of the Nankang AR1 tires that you run. And I'm just saying, I mean, Nankang, if you ever watch this video, Laura's got space, and there's so many photos. These tires and these wheels look excellent anyway, the whole car does in general. And I'll be getting B-roll and cinematics, as you can possibly see on the video anyway. So if there's anyone that has been missed, then you'll be captured anyway. But yeah, I mean, lastly, just to kind of end this sit-down session, what would you say is the best piece of advice you can give to anyone, not even just trying to get into motorsport, but even just venturing to get out on track? You have been instrumental to me trying my very first time at track last year, and that was instrumental to my year last year, because I've loved cars. I've always loved driving cars spiritedly. There's only so much you could do on the road, especially in the UK. So, and that was very, 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 I don't want to say, it sounds dramatic saying life changer, but it kind of was. No, because ultimately you do get to a point where you're like, actually, wait, if I've always wanted to try this, and I'm actually doing this. And I met so many fantastic people. You spoke about Ali earlier. I've even met Elle through you, you know? So, what would you say is the one piece of advice you would give to anyone just even trying to venture track time or going into that sort of space and then further on?
So if I just break it down into two things, and it's literally just go out and give it a go, like go and try, like it does not matter if you are the slowest person out there, just give it a try. You will never be as bad as you think you are.
True.
You will just stay safe, indicate, and you will be fine. Like people will just go around you. So yeah, just give it a try. Like if it's something that you really, really want to do, just go and do it. Just the same with anything. Like you want to fling yourself off a bungee jump, go and do it. Like it says it seems a lot kind of harder than it actually is. And the other one is just ask for help. Like that's all it is. It's just, I know it's this big bravado kind of thing, especially within the motorsport world of like, oh, I have to do it by myself. I can't ask for help. But asking for help is the biggest thing, because you can get better by just listening to someone. Someone will have a different opinion of a line or a breaking point or how to deal with something slightly differently that could make your life a lot easier. Or ask for help with your car, because you don't know everything. Even now, like I was saying about BTT Motorsport, Elle and Tom work together so closely because they both say we don't know everything. Two heads are always better than one. So just ask for help and you can just get that, and you can always get further in track, the car, everything. There's always improvements that can be made either in you or the car, and that's
Awesome. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
And genuinely speaking, again, like I said, you've been one of the most inspirational people to me. Both on track. I'm saying this on camera, but I even said this to you at New Year's as like a text message to you, because ultimately this car and yourself and everything that you're journeying to do, you're a doer, you're not just a talker. And it's not the destination, it's the journey. So definitely everyone follow the channel, because there's going to be a lot of videos both on my channel and ultimately I'm sure we'll be putting it on yours, which has quite a few on boards on there anyway, which I watch regardless. So yeah, it will be interesting just to see how it all goes, what you learn from it, and ultimately just your own progression and the team's progression in general.
Yeah, likewise. It's just, you are going to be following me through the rest of the season, aren't
Pretty
you?
much, yes.
We've got some really cool videos lined up with some really cool people.
Yep.
I think you have got Mark, my coach. I think he has agreed to do it, and you're going to have Elle as well. And I'm sure we will get a few more people along the way as well. And I'm sure you will be sticking your camera in my face as I come out the car, as I go out on track.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the camera may end up getting face palmed a couple of times.
No, access all areas, Joseph.
Yeah,
honestly,
no,
I want you to capture everything.
Yeah. No, I'm always one for respect and privacy, but this is not what this is about. This is ultimately just having it out there. So yeah. Anyway, people, thank you for watching. Almost everyone's links will be in the description, as many as I could possibly get from Laura. So yeah, and yeah, take it easy. Peace.
Thank you.